Filler is the best part about Season 2 of Dr. Stone. It's a nasty word in the anime community that brings up bad memories of our favorite shows, but filler isn't all that bad. Actually, when done right, filler can make an anime just as good, if not better, than the source material. And that's exactly what's happening with Dr. Stone. That's why, in this discussion, I'm going to explain why the filler in Season 2 works so well, and why it's the perfect example of anime filler done right. Before I get started, make sure to comment with your favorite filler moment so far. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week in the next video. Here's this week's comment with a potential role for Yamato. If you'd like more One Piece and Dr. Stone discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe and follow along with each week's video. With that out of the way, let's look at why filler has such a bad reputation. Filler, by definition, is non-canon material, meaning that it's almost always met by disappointment. Think way back to OG Naruto. Here you are thinking you can finally move on to Shippuden, only to find out there's another 80-something episodes of absolute crap. It annoys manga readers who just want to see their favorite scenes animated, and it kills the pacing for anime-onlys who just want to see what happens without needing to skip entire seasons. And there's a number of variations of filler. It could be an entire arc. Sometimes it's just one episode meant to transition into a new arc or season. It might even be one short scene in an otherwise completely canon episode. But no matter how it's used, filler is often disappointing because of the way it just takes up space. It's non-canon, so the studio can't write in any important consequences unless they want to change the main story. A studio might remedy this by writing more casual episodes like going to hot springs, but even then it still takes up important time and usually doesn't contribute anything important to the narrative. And that's why fans just don't like filler. It doesn't contribute anything important, and in some cases can be the reason why a fan decides to read the manga and ignore the anime entirely. But in some cases, at least more recently, filler can actually benefit the anime. And this is how the filler in Stone Wars separates itself from typical anime filler. Rather than dedicate airtime to pointless plotlines or flashbacks for Captain Yusa's side character, all of the filler in Season 2 so far has helped improve the story. And what's crazy is that most of it comes in the form of a very brief scene. So it actually contributes to the narrative in only a short amount of time. The one exception to this would be the first episode. Obviously, everything regarding the space ramen is non-canon, so this example isn't so short, but it still makes a meaningful contribution to the story. First, it acts as a great warm-up to the new season. Following Gen's recap, the space ramen acts as a mini-experiment to help make convenient food for the upcoming battle, almost like a preview for the kinds of experiments you can expect in Season 2. It also shows viewers a new scientific innovation in a relatively short amount of time by building on what we already know. Or what you don't know if you're a meathead like me and already forgot, but let's just pretend like we do remember. So although it does take up a big chunk of the episode, viewers are given a legitimate reason to watch this filler. Anime-onlys are given an invention that helps the war effort, which is demonstrated by the scene where our cell phone trio has ramen by the campfire. Meanwhile, manga readers are given an incentive to watch non-canon material because it offers valuable information about modern-day food and serves as a fun experiment that you would miss out on if you only read the manga. For the sake of comparison, look at the first episode for Season 4 of My Hero Academia. There's a few scenes worth watching once, but it's still a recap episode that can easily be skipped. In contrast, viewers actually miss out on valuable information by skipping the space ramen. And that's exactly how the filler in Season 2 of Dr. Stone separates itself from typical anime filler. But that's just the one exception. All the other filler so far only takes up a brief scene or moment, meaning that it actually contributes to the narrative in even less time than the space ramen. So rather than take up entire episodes, the filler is sprinkled in where it makes sense to do so without messing up the pacing. There's a ton of examples, but I'm just going to point out a couple more that are really worth mentioning. And to you manga readers, there's a few great scenes that I'm specifically leaving out since they would almost certainly spoil the ending for anime-onlys. Now, our first example is the Industrial Revolution, specifically the part where everyone is dressed up. Again, like I've been saying, super short scene. Plus it comes at the very end of the episode, so there's really no point in skipping it. Like even the most diehard sweaty manga fan would be like, well screw it, there's only a few seconds left. Still, you might be wondering how this scene actually contributes to the story. I mean, truth be told, it's literally just the team playing dress up. But this scene actually benefits the story in two ways. First, it contributes to our overall enjoyment of the anime. We're so used to seeing the characters dressed in the same clothes, so it's fun to see what they look like in different outfits. On top of that, it reinforces the idea from Gen that our team is entering the Industrial Revolution. Like the kimono scene from Season 1, this scene builds on the idea that the Kingdom of Science is advancing their technology by showing them in flashy clothes that reflect the new stage of science. And just like the space ramen, it's fun to watch, takes up almost no time, and gives manga readers a reason to actually watch the anime. Plus, it's a great supplement to the canon material because it reinforces the idea that the story is trying to get across. In this case, the idea that the Kingdom of Science has made a pretty major step forward in their technology. And our next example, a short explanation from Nikki, serves a very similar purpose. In the start of that very same episode, we see Nikki offer to help Senku with his cell phone plan, but she explains that all her help won't be able to stop a certain someone from ruining their plans. This certain someone is, of course, Ukiyo. Now, in the manga, Nikki simply explains how Ukiyo has really good hearing and then proceeds to playfully break Taiju's arm in half. But in the anime, Nikki also explains Ukiyo's role in Tsukasa's empire. She tells Senku how Tsukasa has managed to gather powerful allies and how two of them, the most capable ones, have naturally become his left and right hand men. One of them being Hyoga, who we already know is a major threat, and Ukiyo, the new character we know very little about. Like all the other filler, this scene contributes to the main story in a very short amount of time. Admittedly, one of Tsukasa's grunts makes a comment about Tsukasa's top men, but it's one comment that's pretty easy to forget. But here we have Nikki going out of her way to compare Ukiyo to Hyoga and Tsukasa. By doing so, viewers are given a proper understanding of just how dangerous Ukiyo really is. So at this point, by just reading the manga, you'd only understand that Ukiyo has good hearing. But by watching the anime, it's made clear early on that Ukiyo is a major player in the war. And the great part about this filler is that it also builds up the suspense in the waterfall scene. Knowing that he's a major threat, it's even more exciting to see Ukiyo lie to Tsukasa and play his little game of 4D chess. By just reading the manga, you might not think much of this scene. But by watching the anime, you're left puzzled as to why one of Tsukasa's most capable allies is playing mind games with everyone. That's why the explanation from Nikki is so important. Like the other examples, it offers a pretty major contribution to the narrative in basically no time at all. Plus, you get a great understanding of Ukiyo's role in the story that you might not get at this point by just reading the manga. So to quickly recap, this is why the filler is one of the best parts of Season 2. It sets itself apart from typical anime filler that's super pointless and eats up our time. Instead, it's fun, it's sprinkled in when it makes sense without taking up too much of our time, and works to help our overall enjoyment of the story. And unlike most filler, you're actually missing out on some great material by skipping the anime. That's why Season 2 of Dr. Stone is the perfect example of anime filler done right. And that's it for this discussion. Make sure to comment with your favorite moments from Season 2. If you enjoyed this discussion, then make sure to like the video. If you'd like more discussions like this one, then make sure to subscribe for weekly One Piece and Dr. Stone videos. Thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.